What I'm going to do now is talk a little bit about bias, misinterpreting, or deceptive data displays. Um, Things we kind of are going to explore in our statistics projects. A couple of things we've had on a couple of quizzes, some information in the course documents about this kind of thing. Just taking a look at how we need to interpret things. Um, First thing I want to talk about is bias. There are examples of bias in the course documents, but I just wanted to touch on a couple of things. Anytime you're looking at a story, a statistical study in particular, um, you want to be careful of potential bias. Is the data good? How did they collect the data? Who collected the data? Those things can be very important. A couple of things I just wanted to touch on to kind of give an example of this. You ever go to get your car's oil changed? You go to Jiffy Lube. What do they tell you? Come back every 3,000 miles. My car's manual, I think it said every 10,000 miles I need to get my oil changed. Why does Jiffy Lube want you to come in every 3,000 miles? Oh, because they want you to pay them more money more often. Oh, okay, I see. Read the side of things. Back when I was a kid, I recall the 4 basic food groups. You had to eat lots of meat, lots of dairy, milk and cheese, maybe a couple of fruits and vegetables along the way, some bread, of course, lots of bread. And came to find out the feeling is a big influence on these studies that led to this 4 basic food groups. So the research was done by the cattle board and the dairy board. So people who produce meat and people who produce milk and dairy products. So why do they want us to eat so much meat and so much? Oh, I see. Maybe it's legitimate research, but there is potential for bias, perhaps. So that's one of the things we want to be concerned about. Another thing that comes into play is when you read graphs and when you read charts. In the course documents, I gave you a couple of graphs that looked like this. Somebody said, oh, this guy that was the new director of mental health in Multnomah County in Oregon, which is where Portland is, they said that this guy has been doing a wonderful job, and they gave a couple of graphs to support this feeling. And so here are these graphs you may be familiar with. The person was hired mid-July, so around here someplace. What happened? Well, maybe it went down. Is this good? Calls to the crisis hotline. Well, it looks sort of from where he was. Calls have gone down. They leveled off. They went up a little bit, but then they kind of went down again. Is that a good thing? Well, let's see. It sort of was going down before he was hired, and then after he was hired it went down, and then it sort of stabilized, went up, and then went way down, and then leveled off. We don't know what happened after April of 2003. But let's think about a couple of things in this graph. Calls to the crisis hotline. Look at the scale. It starts at 2,000. The ending point is almost down to the bottom. Does this mean nobody's calling the crisis hotline again or anymore? What happens is people look at this graph just for an instant and they see, oh, it's going down and going down. It's almost to the bottom of the graph. That means it's going away. Well, not necessarily. If we look at the scale over here, clearly it's not going away. What happened in the months before this person was hired? Again, mid-July 2002 is when they were hired. What happened before then? Was it way up here? And it came down, came down, came down, came down, kept going down when he was hired? Or was it way down here? They went up. This guy came in and things went down again? Who knows? Is there much of a downward trend? Yeah, it went down, but it leveled off and went back up It went down, it leveled off maybe again, who knows. My friend Mary used to work on the domestic violence hotline. There used to be 3 phones. Soon after this person was hired, there was only 1 phone. So does that have something to do with the fact they don't mention this in the study? They don't have this in the article. They don't have this in the graphs. But maybe with fewer phones, there are going to be fewer phone calls. So potentially misleading. Quiz just recently. Bread consumers. Who eats the most bread? Well, they've got all these different little things to show bread consumption. Here, kilograms per capita. What does that mean? Well, per capita means literally for a head. So per capita means per person. So what's basically the average consumption per person? So total consumption divided by the number of people in the country is per capita consumption. So this takes into account sort of levels things for countries with larger populations and countries with smaller populations. Down here at the bottom, it actually says the source of the data, which is nice. It says when the data is from, 2004 data. Now, what a lot of people mentioned in the quiz about the graph, which is a very good point, what do they mean by bread? Okay, does that mean sliced bread in loaves? Does it mean bread products? Does it mean biscuits? Does it mean, for Mexico, people mentioned tortillas, pita bread? What does that mean? So that could have been a little clearer. Another thing that people noticed, there are these commas. What do these commas mean? Well, in Europe, commas are used like decimal points are. So 1,9, right here for Australia, would mean 1.9. And then there were things like this, okay? The difference between 1.2 and 1.3 and 1.5, 1.6, 1.9 is basically nothing. Yet the difference between 1.9 and 2.0, this bar looks probably even more than twice as big as this little bar. So this is kind of misleading. It's seeming to say that the U.S. eats far, far more than Australia, whereas Australia and France are about the same, when in fact the U.S. and Australia and France and all these countries are also the same. And again, up here, the difference between 2.0 and 1.9 is far less than the difference between 4.8 and 2.3. And then this difference between 5.6 and 4.8, again, scale horrible here. Another couple of things that people noticed. Why are Canada and Mexico put together? Are they the same country? Is it because they have the same value? They both have 1.2, but if they both have 1.2, why were they combined and France and Saudi Arabia weren't when they have both 1.6? Is it the two countries combined? Who knows? A couple other things. Switzerland? I don't know that place. I know Switzerland. Maybe they're missing a T. Ukraine? I don't know that country either. But there's a country, the Ukraine, which is Ukraine. So it's just a sloppy graph. But again, lots of things to look at and think about. It's a very simple graph, but a lot of things are potentially misleading. So really a lot to think about. One tiny little graph, one tiny little chart can say so much, and it also can say so little. And if you're not really careful, if you don't look at the scale, if you don't look at where the data comes from, if you're not paying attention to how things are set up, you can be misled. So be careful out there.